On a sweltering afternoon in the heart of Kamiji, a scream pierced through the marketplace. It wasn't the cry of a vendor or the shriek of a quarrel, no. It was the kind of gasp people make when a truth too scandalous to believe is revealed. Did you hear? Tavanga, the man from the beauty grove. His shop is finished, closed, just like that. Whispers swept the city like wildfire. How could this happen to Tavanga Mbali, the man who once turned the heads of queens and priestesses? Alike, only a few truly knew the story, the real story. It began not with ruin, but with power and seduction. Tavanga lived in a lavish apartment above the bustling Palm Crescent district of Kamiji, where the air was always scented with roasted groundnuts, sizzling plantains, and exhaust fumes. Kamiji was a city of contrasts. Mud brick homes stood beside glass towers, drummers played near digital screens. Among all this, Tavanga was a symbol, a legend, the city's most desirable bachelor. Tall and broad-shouldered, with deep mahogany skin that gleamed in the sun, he moved like someone who knew all eyes were on him. Always dressed in finely tailored kaftans and laced sandals imported from Abidjan, he was known not just for his beauty, but for his intoxicating charm. His shop, Tavanga's Beauty Grove, stood like a temple among plain stalls. Inside, the scent of shea butter, desert myrrh, and jasmine hung in the air. Gold-trimmed shelves displayed oils, powders, soaps, and perfumes from across the continent, from Moroccan argan to Ugandan sandalwood. But what truly drew people in was Tavanga himself. Women, young, old, rich, poor, flocked to the grove. Some came to find the rarest face creams. Others came simply to feel noticed, to hear his voice, to be seen. Tavanga knew this. He built his empire not just with products, but with attention. He studied every customer like a hunter studies prey, finding the cracks in their confidence and filling them with compliments. One day, the bells at the grove's door chimed, and in walked Zanelle, a vision draped in indigo cloth. Her skin had the glow of sunrise after a storm. Her hair was long, pressed smooth, with gold beads lining the edges. Tavanga stepped forward, his voice a low melody. Zanelle, Kamiji has many stars, but today the sky brought its brightest. She laughed, soft and unsure. You always say such things. I only speak what the ancestors whisper, he said. Come, I have something no other woman in this city has seen. She tilted her head. A new product? He nodded, beckoning her gently. Something rare, hidden, for the special ones. They walked past the velvet curtain that separated the main shop from a back chamber. The room was dim, lit by hanging lanterns. No oils, no powders. Just a plush bench, a low table with carvings of baobab trees, and the soft hum of music. Tavanga closed the curtain behind them. Sit, my moonflower. Zanelle, amused but curious, sat down. Well, show me this secret then. He laughed softly. Some treasures can't be bottled. Some are felt, not sold. Before she could react, his cologne, musky with hints of clove, surrounded her like fog. He leaned in. Do you trust me? Her voice trembled. I think so. And just like that, she joined the list of many. Zanelle was not the first, nor the last. Tavanga had a pattern. His inner chamber was no secret among the city's women. Yet many still fell for his attention, his voice, his false promises of love. But customers were only half the tale. The shop assistants, those innocent village girls looking for honest work, were his true victims. His newest employee, Tadiwa, had come from the rural township of Kasinga. She wore plain dresses and carried hope like a lantern in a storm. She didn't understand city ways. She believed in work, prayer, and dreams. Tavanga saw that, and he smiled. At first, he was kind, polite, warm. Tadiwa, you have a light about you. Like the dawn after harvest rains, he'd say. She would blush. She wasn't used to such words. Then came the gifts, a new pair of slippers, a lunch pack just for her, a soft shawl for when she got cold. And one evening, as the sky turned copper with sunset, he made his move. "Tadiwa," he said, "can you help me count the last of the imported oils? We're behind, and you're the most careful with numbers." She hesitated. "Sir, the shared cart to Kasinga leaves soon. I'll pay for a boda to take you home directly." He replied with a dazzling smile, "It'll be quick." Heart pounding, she nodded. He led her to the chamber. "We're counting stock in here?" she asked, eyes wide. "Not stock," he said, stepping close. "You, Tadiwa, have something special. I see it in you." She swallowed, her hands clenching. She had seen the others go into this room. She had wondered what happened. She had even warned herself. But now, it was her. And like the rest, she felt her strength crumble under his eyes. The next morning, Tadiwa came to work walking a little slower than usual. Her steps, usually light and eager, now dragged under the weight of unspoken discomfort. Her eyes avoided the mirror she passed, the same mirror she once used to check her head wrap and smile. Inside Tavanga's beauty grove, the air was thick with oils and tension. For Tavanga, life had never been better. The shop was still ringing. With yesterday's laughter, his cash drawer still warm with fresh notes, and his charm had not dulled. He leaned against the counter, humming a cheerful tune and flipping through his sales ledger. Business was thriving. His bank pouch was fat. And women, customers, suppliers, and staff alike were drawn to him like bees to marula fruit. Tall, short, heavy, lean. Tavanga didn't care. If she was a woman, she was fair game. And why should he worry? Life was smooth. Money flowed. Like palm wine at a village feast. His word was final, and no one dared question him. Kamiji adored him. He was the man every young boy wanted to become. Until one morning when everything began to unravel. Tavanga sat at his desk counting the sales from the day before, humming a wedding song from the northern coast. But suddenly, his brow furrowed. He counted again, then a third time. His humming stopped. No, this can't be right, he muttered. "I sold creams, oils, wigs, Where is the money?" He slammed the drawer and called out, "Vimbai, Tadiwa, come here." The two shop assistants stepped forward, brows raised in surprise. "Who took money from the drawer?" Tavanga barked. Vimbai exchanged a puzzled look with Tadiwa. "Sir, we only took money to give change," said Tadiwa quietly. "Yes, and you were at the front all day," added Vimbai. "You saw every sale." Tavanga scratched his head. Maybe it was a mistake, but the next day, the same thing happened. And again the day after. His money was vanishing like dew under the sun. He fired one assistant, then another, suspecting theft. But the losses continued. Then, more strange things started happening. His once crowded shop became eerily silent. Where women once argued over who would be served first, now he could hear the goats bleating in the distance and the wind rustling through his decorative curtain. Desperate, Tavanga stood outside yelling, "Buy one lotion, get a lip balm free." Passersby chuckled and whispered, "Isn't that the Tavanga whose goods expired from no use?" He was devastated. The shame gnawed at him. His charm was no longer. Enough. The city had turned its face from him. Worse still, his own staff began to leave. "Sir, you haven't paid me in 2 moons, Vimbai said one morning. "Please, just give me more time," Tavanga pleaded. She shook her head, tying her apron. "Off. My mother didn't send me to Kamiji to work for free." She grabbed her bag and walked out, leaving behind the scent of old jasmine. Tavanga stood frozen. For the first time, he wasn't thinking of perfumes or seduction. He was thinking of collapse. The shop grew quieter each day. Dust settled on once glowing bottles. Shelves once overstocked now had gaps like missing teeth. The perfume still smelled sweet, but the air had grown stale. How had it come to this? At month's end, the footsteps Tavanga feared echoed on the stone floor. Mr. Ndlena, the landlord, had arrived. His face, carved with frown lines, held no patience. "Tavanga, I've waited. Where is my rent?" "Please, Mr. Ndlena, give me a little more time." The older man shook his head sharply. "This isn't a charity." He reached into his leather pouch and pulled out a folded red notice. Without a word, he slapped it on the shop door. "Shop closed, rent unpaid." Tavanga's heart stuttered. "Please wait. Listen to me," he tried. Ndlena didn't pause. 7 days. Pay, or the shop is no longer yours. He walked away, leaving Tavanga staring at the bold letters, trembling. People gathered. It's true then," a woman said. "The mighty Tavanga has fallen." And with every whisper, every glance, Tavanga felt the walls of his once glorious empire crumble. Not with a crash, but with a quiet, cruel silence. Tavanga swallowed hard. It was real. His shop, his name, his empire, all gone. The once proud beauty king of Kamiji stood defeated, staring at the red eviction notice like it was a death sentence. He locked the door for the last time and walked away, hands deep in his pockets, feeling like a stranger in the very streets that once bowed to him. That night, he arrived at a small house on the edge of the city and knocked. The door creaked open, revealing Amari, his old friend. He raised an eyebrow. "Tavo, what are you doing here?" Tavanga looked down. I need a place to stay." Amari sighed and stepped aside. "Come in." Tavanga had never felt such shame. Once the man with silk sheets and a golden spoon, he now couldn't even afford a pillow of his own. The next few weeks passed like smoke. He lay on the spare mattress, staring at the ceiling, replaying his downfall. "Maybe I can start again," he thought. "If I take a loan, no, they won't give me one. Everything vanished last time. Or maybe I borrow some stock, start small. No, it'll just spoil again." Amari watched quietly. He said nothing, but his eyes held concern. Then one evening, Amari returned home and paused at the gate. There, laughing under the moonlight, was Tavanga with a girl. Not just any girl. A flashy type, the kind he used to entertain. Amari's eyes darkened. "Tavanga," he said, voice stern, "tell me I am not seeing what I'm seeing." Tavanga chuckled nervously. "Ah, my brother, you know how it goes. Glook." Amari raised a hand. "No, I don't know." The girl, sensing the tension, quickly excused herself and disappeared into the night. Amari turned to him, jaw clenched. "I let you stay here because I thought you needed help. But clearly, you haven't learned a thing." Tavanga tried to explain. "Amari, it's not what you think. A man needs to stretch sometimes. Besides, I'm not spending money on them." "You're not giving them money? Then where did all your money go?" Amari snapped. "You think this is about coins? This is about self-control, about the kind of man you are." Tavanga fell silent. That night, he sat on the mattress, eyes wide, open in the dark. "Amari," he finally whispered, "I don't understand. I had everything. Now it's all gone. It feels like I'm cursed." Amari sat beside him, folding his arms. "Tavo, do you not see that you invited this destruction with your own hands?" Tavanga frowned. "What do you mean?" Amari leaned forward. "You turned your place of business into a den of temptation. You mixed work with pleasure. You brought women, strangers, into the very room that fed you." Tavanga's eyes widened. "Sex is spiritual," Amari said, "and you were careless. Some spirits come with blessings. Others, they leave chaos in their path. You let too many through your door. And you didn't just bring them into your bed. You brought them into your business. That shop had no protection left." Tavanga stared at the floor, the truth hitting. like a stone in the gut. Do you think that's why everything collapsed? He asked, voice cracking. Amari nodded. Your charm, your gifts, they didn't protect you. They ruined you. Tavanga sighed and rubbed his face. I'm finished. What can I even do now? Amari smiled slightly. You fix your life, from the inside out. Start again, but this time, the right way. But how? I have nothing. Amari thought. For a moment. There's someone I know, he said. An elder in Umbaru, Elder Makoni. He's been in the beauty business for over 40 years, and more than that, he's wise. Tavanga stood in silence, the weight of his past pressing down like a wet blanket. Do you think he'll even listen to me? He asked quietly. Amari gave a small chuckle. That depends. Are you ready to drop your pride? Elders don't entertain. Foolishness. Tavanga exhaled deeply. What choice did he have? The next morning, the two set out early, weaving through the crowded alleys of Umbaru's sunrise market. Chickens clucked, women sold mangoes, and the scent of roasting maize filled the air. At the far end, nestled between a spice stall and a fabric shop, stood a small storefront marked Makoni's Blends. The door creaked as they entered. Inside, it was a sensory explosion. Rows of bottles lined the shelves, each labeled in careful handwriting. The air was thick with the aroma of crushed hibiscus, eucalyptus oil, and raw cocoa butter. Behind the counter sat Elder Makoni, tall, lean, with a beard like dry cotton and eyes sharp as eagle talons. He chewed sugarcane slowly, his expression unreadable. Amari, he said, voice deep like a drumbeat. What's brought you here so early? And who's this wanderer beside you? Amari nodded toward Tavanga. He has something to say. Tavanga stepped forward. Good morning, Baba. My name is Tavanga. I once ran a beauty store in Kamiji, but it all crumbled. Elder Makoni arched an eyebrow. Crumble how? Tavanga hesitated. Money vanished. Clients stopped coming. I did my best, but everything just slipped away. The old man leaned back and spat the sugarcane into a clay bowl. Then he chuckled dryly. Was it bad luck or bad choices? Tavanga glanced at Amari, whose silence said everything. I was warned, Tavanga admitted, his eyes dropping. But I didn't listen. So why are you here now? Elder Makoni asked. To learn, to rebuild, to become better. The old man studied him for a long while. Then finally, he nodded. You say you want to start over, but do you know what that takes? Humility, patience, discipline. Do you have those things? I'm willing to try, Baba. Elder Makoni leaned forward. Then listen carefully. You'll work under me, not for a week, not a month, but for 7 years. During that time, you'll learn not only how to sell, but how to stand. If you stick through it, I'll help you rise again. Tavanga blinked. 7 years? If you want quick fixes, there's the door, Makoni said flatly. After a moment of hesitation, Tavanga lowered his head. I accept, the elder tapped the counter. Then let's begin. On only his second day, the past came to test him. A woman walked in tall, elegant, wrapped in crimson. Her heels clicked like a ticking clock, and her perfume danced through the air, warm vanilla and honey. Tavanga's instinct kicked in. He straightened his collar, smoothed his shirt, and flashed his charming smile. Good afternoon, beautiful. Crack! A wooden rod struck the back of his head. Ow, Baba! This is not your flirting ground, Elder Makoni barked. You are here to serve, not seduce. Now do it properly. Rubbing his head, Tavanga tried again. Good afternoon, madam. How may I assist you today? The woman smirked, twirling a braid. So polite. I've heard stories about you. Tavanga felt temptation stir, but this time he clamped it down. How can I help you today, madam? Behind the counter, Makoni gave a subtle nod of approval. Tavanga had just passed his first test. Weeks turned to months. Tavanga swept the floors before sunrise. He organized stock with reverence. He greeted every customer with calm respect. Slowly, the fire inside him shifted from vanity to value. Elder Makoni didn't just teach him business. He taught him how to hold silence, how to keep books, how to speak less but mean more. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky burned orange, they sat outside the shop. "Tavanga," the elder said, "do you know why Robert Makoni ruled for so long? Because he was smart?" Tavanga guessed. Wrong. Because he had control, discipline. A man who cannot command himself is not fit to lead others. He once said, "The only man worth fearing is the one who has mastered himself." Tavanga let that sink in. So a man without self-control is powerless. "Exactly," said the old man. That night, Tavanga didn't dream of women, or money, or perfumes. He dreamt of becoming a man he could respect. "Exactly," Elder Makoni said, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "You used to believe women were your strength, your prize. But in truth, they were your distraction, your downfall. You thought you were conquering them, but they were conquering you. Now it's time you learn what real strength looks like." Tavanga gave a small smile. For the first time, he didn't just hear the words, he understood them. One dusky evening, just as he was pulling down the wooden shutters, the door creaked open. There she stood, Keone. She had changed. Fuller cheeks, glowing skin, confidence in her stride. Dressed in a sleek black dress that whispered with each step, she moved with elegance and intent. Tavanga's heart thudded in his chest. "Peony," he breathed. She smiled, playful yet piercing. "Tavanga." "It's been a long time." He struggled to steady his voice. "What brings you here?" She took a slow step forward. "I've been thinking about you." The old Tavanga would have already reached for the curtain strings. He would have led her to the back, turned down the lights. But that man no longer lived here. He took a breath and stepped back. "If you're here for a product, I'll gladly serve you. But if you're here for anything else, I'm afraid." "I can't help," Keone blinked, surprised. So you don't want me?" Tavanga shook his head gently. "I respect you. But I respect myself more." She tilted her head, half amused. "You've changed." He smiled, calm and firm. "Yes, and I'm not going back." Without another word, Keone turned and walked out, her perfume lingering like a final question. From behind the curtain, Elder Makoni stepped out, hands behind his back, a slow grin growing. "Now that is the man I've been waiting to see. You've done well, Tavanga. You've mastered the hardest part, yourself." Tavanga exhaled deeply, a quiet sense of triumph blooming in his chest. 7 years passed like a slow song. And one crisp morning, Tavanga stood outside the storefront that had changed his life. He looked at the wooden sign, faded but proud. Makoni's Blends. The reckless young flirt who had first arrived here was gone. In his place stood a man of patience, discipline, and purpose. He no longer whispered flattery. He no longer blurred business with desire. He greeted every woman, young or old, with respect and clarity. He knew their names. He remembered their stories. He sold not just beauty, but dignity. His bank account was steady, but more than that, his soul was quiet. That morning, Elder Makoni called him inside. Tavanga sat across the desk from the elder, whose eyes twinkled with pride. "You've done well, Tavanga." "Thank you, Baba," he said softly. Elder Makoni reached into the drawer and pulled out a thick brown envelope. "This is your settlement. You've earned it. It's time you build something of your own." Tavanga hesitated, fingers brushing the envelope's edge. He had grown so used to walking under guidance, he'd nearly forgotten what it felt like to lead. "But what if I fail again?" Elder Makoni chuckled, leaning back. "Did you learn nothing from me?" Tavanga smiled sheepishly. You won't fail. You've already overcome your greatest enemy. Not the economy, not competition, but yourself. That was always your weakness. Not business, not money, you. Tavanga bowed his head, accepting the envelope. Thank you, Baba. The old man nodded. Now go, build. Weeks later, in a quiet corner of Kamiji, a new sign went up. Tavanga's True Blends. The shelves were stocked. The counters gleamed. But the biggest difference was behind the counter, a man no longer chasing shadows, but standing tall in his own light. This time, everything was different. He hired both men and women, not just pretty girls for entertainment, but hard-working staff with real skills. Every financial principle Elder Makoni had instilled in him was now law in his business. He managed the shop with precision, treated every customer with respect, and above all, he remained disciplined. One sunny afternoon, Amari dropped by. He looked around and nodded approvingly. This place looks good, my friend. You've truly changed. Tavanga smiled. I had to, or I'd have lost everything, Amari chuckled. So no more secret rooms, Tavanga laughed, shaking his head. Never again. Amari clapped him on the shoulder. Good. Now it's time we talk about your next step. You need a wife. A good one. Tavanga groaned, grinning. Ah, my brother, let me breathe. I just finished climbing one mountain, and you already want to push me up another? Amari laughed again, but Tavanga knew deep down he was ready. At a regional business conference a few months later, Tavanga met a woman named Adama. She was unlike anyone he had ever pursued before, modest, graceful, and dignified. She listened more than she spoke, and when she did speak, her words carried weight. The first time Tavanga tried his old charm, she smiled politely. Tavanga, I've heard those lines 1,000 times. He was stunned. For the first time in his life, his words didn't work. That was when he knew she was different. She was worth more. With Adama, he did things the right way. He met her family. He respected her boundaries. He moved slowly, carefully, with reverence. On their wedding day, Amari pulled him aside, eyes misty with pride. My brother, he said, shaking his hand firmly, you've made me proud. Tavanga grinned. So I finally passed the Amari test? Amari laughed. Yes, you are now a true man. Tavanga turned to look at Adama, radiant in white, her smile serene. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was holding something truly sacred, and this time, he wouldn't let it go. Years passed. Tavanga was now a respected businessman. His store flourished. He was content, grounded, a man others admired. One day, a young man entered the shop, face downcast, voice shaky. Sir, I lost everything. My shop, my savings. I don't know what happened. Tavanga looked into the boy's eyes and saw his old self, a man at the end of his rope. Without a word, he pulled out a chair. Sit down, he said gently. Let me tell you a story. A story about a man who was once broken, but found a way back. True success isn't measured by wealth, charm, or outward beauty. It's found in discipline, humility, and mastering one's own desires. A man who cannot control himself will lose everything, but the one who learns restraint gains peace, respect, and a legacy that lasts. If this story inspired you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful African stories that uplift, teach, and transform. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a lesson in wisdom.